Hello out there, this is Toy Customizer Wakeangel2K1, and look at what I finally got my hands on. It is the World of Nintendo Link figure. Yay! I tell you, my journey to find this thing is harrowing enough to feature in its own Legend of Zelda game. Yeah, he's been in Target for the past month, but was never in stock. Then he's been in Kmart for the past 2 weeks. Also never in stock. And then just a couple days ago, I was looking through our inventory system, and I found out that the 4-inch World of Nintendo figures are finally coming to Toys R Us. And I just found them today in a Toys R Us. Hooray! Alright, so taking a look at his sculpt and paintwork, he is actually pretty darn fantastic. I've heard people on the internet say that the 4-inch Link figure is almost like the Figma reduced in size. And it's not that far off. The build quality of this thing is really good, and he has a lot of great articulation. At about 4 inches tall, he's roughly the size of a G.I. Joe or a Marvel Universe figure. And he actually matches those things in terms of posability as well. Finding the perfect zoom level. Alright, so taking a look at what he can do, he has a ball jointed neck, gives you a little bit of sideways tiltage, mostly functions as a swivel, and he can do a little bit of down looking. Not much, but a little bit. Whoop whoop. Let's get both hands in on this. He has universal shoulders. They can go out. It's a little tight, but they can go all the way out 90 degrees, and they of course rotate. One more thing about the detail of his sculpt, they actually made sure to sculpt in the detail of the chainmail armor. I mean, the paintwork could be a little bit more clean, but it's really nice that they went through all the effort to sculpt that on a figure this size. Even the chainmail skirt. It just looks fantastic. I love this thing. He has an elbow joint, which is almost Figma-ish. You see, it's a joint in here with a swivel at the top and the bottom of the bicep. And he has a wrist joint. The wrist can independently swivel like this. And there's a hinge. And his hands have different sculpts. His left hand is in a simple holding pose, while the right hand is in a holding pose at an angle. This is for posing with the sword. More on that a little bit later. He has a waist swivel right there. I wanted to see if it was like a ball joint. It feels like it is, but it's kind of restricted by the sculpt of his shirt. That's fine though. And he has universal hips. They go out and they go forward. They put some slits in the side of his skirt, but the skirt still kind of holds the leg back. When I first saw preview images on the internet, I thought that he didn't have knee joints, but that's because the knee joints are so beautifully well hidden by the sculpt, you don't even really notice that they're there from the front. And that's pretty cool. He also features a thigh swivel at the boot cut and ball jointed ankles. So yeah, this guy being called as close to a scaled down Figma is actually pretty appropriate, because this is way more articulation than I ever expected to come out of the World of Nintendo line, especially when you consider that Yoshi doesn't even have elbows or knees. Link's primary accessory is of course the Master Sword, as it should be, and it comes in this really nice scabbard. The scabbard only has some basic paint apps at the tip and at the top, but all the details are sculpted in there. See the little Triforce logo, all the rivets, you know, everything's in there. And there's of course a peg on it so it can attach to him. And then the hilt is painted a really nice Master Sword blue. I would have liked it that little gem was picked out in yellow, but they did a pretty good job, considering. Especially at the budget, because even at Toys R Us, this figure only costs $10.49. If you were to get it at Target, it would be only $8. And Kmart has it for $9. So Gonna have to pull back a little bit so I don't go out of frame so easily. The sword itself is cast in a light blue plastic with an even lighter blue painted on the blade's edge. Focus on the thing, focus on the thing. This creates that nice, I see what they were going for. This is supposed to recreate the effect of the blade glowing with godly light. Because, you know, the Master Sword isn't just some inert piece of steel, it's like actual magic. And if it'll stay in focus, come on, there we go. You can see that it even has all the little details sculpted into the blade that appear in the game. So, when I did the turnaround before, you'd see that Link has a little hole in his back, and that is simply to accept the peg for the scabbard, which goes in just like this. It clips in a little bit with his hat. Like if you try to make the scabbard hang lower, it's going to force him to look to the right a little bit. And you know, I found that the peg hole isn't exactly in the center, and if you put it the other way, such that it's slung over his other shoulder, then it actually goes a little bit lower so it doesn't clip into his hat and you can angle it lower. Which makes me think that they sculpted the scabbard with the idea of a left-handed Link, but the figure ended up getting made primarily to be right-handed because of the way the belt is sculpted. Yeah, somebody out there still remembers that Link is supposed to be left-handed. Freaking Wii controls favoring the right-handed people and ignoring the very demographic for whom Link stood as a hero for. Alright, so the Master Sword can of course be held in his left hand if you really want him to. You just kind of got to put it in there. It's not exactly a very tight grip in the right hand, and don't really think it was meant to be here, but it's nice that he can do it if you really want to. The real story is in his right hand. Like, remember how it was sculpted a little bit forward like that? That way he looks more natural holding it. When he has his arm extended, the blade is also extended. And you can even sort of do a nice I have the power thing. The posability of this figure actually is really great, especially in the arms, thanks to all those swivels and the great depth of the hinge in the elbow. He can be sculpted to actually reach back and hold on to the scabbard, to the hilt of the sword while it's still in the scabbard, and he can hold the sword up in the air above his head like he's summoning up the goddess power like he does in the game. He can also really look natural in a sword slashing pose, and he can even hold the sword two-handed if you want. That's really good arm posability. Link also comes with a secret accessory, which is kept in a little cardboard box. Although it's only cardboard, it is covered with a wax finish to make it nice and glossy and hopefully waterproof. And it's even decorated to look like one of the goddess chests from Skyward Sword, which is a very nice touch. It simply opens up, revealing itself to be plain cardboard on the inside. And cue the music. It's the Hylian Shield, which kind of feels like a cheat because I know in Skyward Sword the Hylian Shield is kind of a quest item that you get, an optional quest item, so it would be a secret thing, but you know, it's the Hylian Shield. It's iconic. This should have been a basic thing, and then what came in here would have been like another accessory, like the claw shot or a bomb or something. The details of the Hylian Shield are really great. You got the Triforce symbol, that red bird. Everything on here is fantastic. It's cast in a light gray plastic. I think it might have been a little bit nicer if they had it painted silver, but this is still extremely nice, especially for the price point. And the strap of the shield is even painted brown to be like leather. That's cool. Again, it's the little touches. This figure, despite being a low cost, doesn't really skip on the paint as much as some other toys would. Now, getting him to hold the shield can be more than a little harrowing. That's because you have to get this hand to go through that loop and then to grab that handle. And the hand is a little bit big, and it can be very terrifying to get everything in there. But all the plastic is made just flexible enough that you can bend what you need to out of the way and get him to hold on to it. I'm not going to do it on camera because it's very fiddly, but I'll put it on there and show you what it looks like. And there it goes. As you can see, he holds the shield exactly like you would hold it in real life. And he can look very, very cool doing so. Like I said, the arm is so well articulated, on par with the G.I. Joe figures at this scale, that he's able to take on many poses wielding both the sword and the shield. So I guess the only real limitation is the way his hat clips into the scabbard, which you can remove if it really is getting in the way, and the way that the skirt, despite those slits in the side, still kind of get in the way of leg posability. And one more thing, look at his hat. There's a very obvious seam there. It makes me think that maybe this was a separate piece that was meant to be jointed, so you could rotate it out of the way so it wouldn't clip into the scabbard when you turned his head. But at the last minute, that point of articulation got budgeted out. And I find that kind of funny, that they would have given him an articulated hat but decided not to at the last second. So, thinking about how his skirt is kind of limiting his legs, I was wondering if I took my X-Acto knife to make this slit go up closer to the belt, would it give him any more robust hip articulation? Let's find out. Remember, kids, articulation is not the same as posability. Articulation means that the moving part is there. Posability means that it can actually do something. So with the skirt cut out of the way, by the way, this changes nothing about the way the figure looks. You're just cutting up a slit that's already sculpted in. You can actually move the hips a little more. He lacks a proper thigh swivel, so it can still limit how his legs move. But with that skirt cut out of the way, he has a lot more range with his legs, and you can give him more splayed poses. If his ankles only had more range, but then again, this is something that they probably weren't expecting because they thought that the skirt would block the movement anyway. Thanks to these little slits, but I don't know why they didn't do it, because these little slits make him so much more posable. It's quite baffling. It's such a simple thing. I did this in 30 freaking seconds. It's absolutely nothing. You can do this. Just use an X-Acto knife. I don't want you to use a blunter knife because you might scar the plastic or something. Alright then, it's comparison time. I don't have the Link Figma to compare it to, because that figure is expensive and you'd have to have them imported. But I do have other things. Here is the Figuart Mario. He is the same height as the World of Nintendo Mario at about 4 inches. And he is not really in scale with Link at all. A 4-inch Mario would do a much better job scaling with a 6-inch Link. So when they're both 4 inches tall, it just looks weird. I mean, even if you take Mario's cartoon proportions, like, Link's head would fit inside Mario's mouth. Some other things that might scale much better with him. How about the Zelda DLC Sonic? Yeah, he scales very good next to the 3-inch Sonic line. Speaking of 3-inch figures, here's that Mario Candy Topper. Okay. It's still not perfect, but within the twisted logic of Smash Brothers, it kinda works. If you say he ate a mushroom, maybe. How about my custom Samus figure? Yeah, the one I made out of a Marvel Legends. a Marvel Universe figure. Yeah, she works with him. I mean, Samus is supposed to canonically be pretty tall. In the armor, she's like 6 foot. So, yeah, that works. Let's see. What else do I have? Oh, yeah. How about the original Ocarina of Time Link figure? Oh, wait a second. Something's not right here. There we go. That's a more fair comparison between the two of them. With both of them all kitted out with their accessories. You know, I always thought it was cool that this shield had silver paint apps, although it is a little bit too curved. Also, that it simply has a peg, and you can choose whether he holds it in his hand or simply attach it to the forearm, which I prefer to do. So yeah, they're about the same height. Maybe Ocarina of Time Link is a smidge taller by less than 1/8 of an inch, maybe. This version of Link has a much more impish face. He has bigger eyes and a smile sculpted in, where the other Link has proportionally smaller eyes and he has a frown sculpted, you know, like a serious face. Also, this Link's ears are much longer, and it looks like he's bald on the back of the head. This one, there's hair underneath the hat. But you know, that this guy is much older. They didn't really sculpt figures as well back then. Although it does point out one little point of articulation. The Ocarina of Time figure has thigh swivels, which kind of help with splayed leg poses, or would help with splayed leg poses if he had ball jointed hips. This guy has universal jointed hips, but without thigh swivels, it can make it kind of hard to keep his feet flat, even with the ball jointed ankles. Yeah, like in terms of the robustness of the sculpt and the level of articulation, the new Link is gonna win hands down. But there's one thing that he's never gonna have, and that's a 2-scale Epona figure that he can ride. Yeah, that's always gonna be the one thing that that Ocarina of Time Link has, unless they release his Loftwing. Oh, that would be so cool if they released a Loftwing figure that this Link could sit on. Oh, that would be so epic. I hope they do that. So, despite lacking an epic mount, for the price point, this is a spectacular figure. And it's really the first toy of this character is to see a mass retail release on American Toys in, I'm pretty sure, in American toy stores I'm pretty sure it's been over a decade. So this guy is fantastic, and from what I understand, the cases contain 12 figures, and there's always at least 3 Links in each case, so you should be able to get him pretty easily. Now that he's in Toys R Us, assuming the scalpers don't see my video and then start running to Toys R Us en masse to get them all and then stick them on eBay for 40 bucks. Yeah. Nah, I don't think that's gonna happen. Toys R Us restocks are too often for that. So this has been Toy Customizer Wakeangel 2001, and I hope that you've all enjoyed this review.